when I was taking little classes almost 30 years ago, there was a girl I remember who said, what a wonderful thing it would be if you could do this kind of counseling on TV so that tens of thousands or maybe even millions could watch you and get the same benefits as we are getting right now in front of you, face to face. Since then, we have moved from the age of TV to the age of the internet. And maybe today I can do what that girl wanted me to do 30 years ago. Though officially I teach English, I deal with so many subjects while in class, while chatting with my students. And I'm counseling all the time, whether I'm collecting a professional fee for it or not. And so many thousands of issues come up every now and then. One of them, which it would greatly benefit both young people who are under my tutelage right now and those who have become ex-students in the last 5, 10, 20 years, as well as the parents of all these people, is the importance of being able to make up your own mind. Now, if you think about it a little, everybody, all the time, has to keep on making up his or her own mind. Is often forced to, over very little things like what I'll have for breakfast this morning, to whether I'll go to battle, whether I'll launch a new business, whether I'll make a new movie, whether I will have a big fight out with my wife or not, whether I'll ditch my best friend, whether I'll read this book or that, watch this movie or that, wear this shirt or that. We are constantly having to make decisions, make up our own minds. And yet, people are terribly afraid of it. And because they are afraid, they often botch it. There are three things which most ordinary people, whether they're young or old, male or female, highly educated or much less so, three problems that we all have to deal with when we are in the process of making up our own minds. First is that it forces us to suffer the pain of having to choose. And a lot of people simply cannot accept this, that whenever you are deciding on something, whenever you're choosing something, it means that automatically you are deciding not to have something else. Something else which might also be very attractive, very interesting, which might seem to be something indispensable even. If I go to a movie tonight, because I've been dying to watch that movie, I might be late for work tomorrow or not finish the work that I'm due to finish by tomorrow. If I choose this girlfriend, I'll have to give over that one. If I go on this holiday, I'll have to forego that one. Now, a lot of people, believe me, even if they're supposedly grown up, can't do this. So many hundreds of parents have problems with my tuitions every year, simply because on the one hand, they are hell-bent on admitting their children to my classes, and at the same time, they don't want to miss somebody else's classes. And they come either to me or to that other tutor and say, sir, please adjust, kindly adjust. Why? It is not the job of the tutor to adjust. Like every lawyer, like every doctor, we have fixed hours. There's a limit to how much we can work, how much we can do for any one particular individual. You, the customer, the client, the student, or his parents have to decide which is the priority. If two teachers have classes on the same day at more or less the same time, isn't it obvious that you have to choose one and naturally do without the other? And it's your choice. You shouldn't impose that upon me. It's not for me to adjust. So, if you're afraid of foregoing something, you'll always find decision making very painful. If you can prioritize clearly in your own mind what is more important and what is less important, making up your mind becomes much easier. So that was the first problem. The second problem is people are afraid, what if I choose wrong? But of course, accept it. That won't be the end of the world in most cases. If you are jumping off a precipice into a deep gorge, while an elephant is rushing at you and you choose wrongly, you might either be trampled to death or you may fall to your death. But very rarely in our lives do we come across choices that hard. Most of the time, whether I'm going to go out to a movie on a date tonight or not, these are not life and death choices. All right, I make a wrong decision. I suffer a little regret and I move on. This fear of failure haunts people far more than it should be allowed to. I will make up my own mind, and sometimes, perhaps even frequently, perhaps even most of the time if I'm a very stupid person, I will choose wrong. Hopefully, I will learn from my experience to choose better the next time. But the fear of choosing wrongly should not stop me from making up my own mind quickly, decisively, once and for all. The third problem, and this is a problem I personally believe is much more serious in collectivist societies like India, China, the East generally, the terror of what people will say. Now, the herd instinct is very powerful in all animals, and the human animal included, and Westerners and Easterners alike are prone to it. But in the West, at least, they have a very long, many centuries old tradition of encouraging individualism and individual choice. They say it's very important that you learn to make up your own mind, make your own decisions, and live your life according to your own decisions. In India, we still teach, consciously or unconsciously, directly or tangentially, as parents, as teachers, as neighbors, and even so-called friends and well-wishers, that it's very important that you go with the herd. So that at least if you have made a wrong choice, the herd will be there to console you. If you have made the right choice, the herd will be there to congratulate you. But you will never feel alone, you'll never feel left out and rejected and mocked and trivialized. But the point is, if you really know the herd, then you will realize that the herd neither really comforts you when you have failed, nor really admires and praises you when you have succeeded. They deride you and mock you when you have failed. They leave you alone to suffer in silence and loneliness. And when you succeed, when your choices have been good and you have benefited from them, they envy you, they are jealous of you. So they speak badly of you behind your back, sometimes even to your face. If you have learned that about the herd, then you will learn also to greatly discount what the herd says. Be your man, your own woman, and live your own life according to your own lights. For that, of course, it is very important that if you still want to live a good life, you will have to learn what it means to live a good life, and that learning will take up a very large part of your life. Believe me, the sooner you can do that, the better. A lot of people learn to do it only when most of their life choices are already taken and they've already suffered the consequences in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there's a French proverb which, roughly translated, says, "If only old men could, if only young men knew." Now, that is true, unfortunately, for far too many of us. On the other hand, I remember a friend in my teens who was already so clear-headed. His own family elders told me that he will listen quietly to all their advice and all their blandishments and all their admonitions, and finally he will go ahead and quietly do exactly what he had decided to do in the first place. Now, I'm not saying that because of this stubbornness, this very strong streak of individuality, he has done very well throughout in his life. I've seen better examples of good lives than his. But that is beside the point here. The point is, I admire him, I respect him, and I would like many of you to be like him, because that way you can truly be yourself. Everybody is telling everybody else, be yourself, live your own life. But the fact is, in reality, most of us don't, because we can't, because we daren't. If we dared, life would be better for all of us, in every sense. A man who clearly knows his own mind is also a man about whom his friends and relatives and neighbors know exactly where he stands on most issues. And knowing that, it becomes much easier to deal with it. Though I'm saying it myself, my students know and my students' parents know that these are things that Sir does and these are things that Sir doesn't. Knowing that, it becomes much easier for them to decide whether they will come to me or not, whether they will learn anything from me or not, whether they will stay the course or not. And they have benefited from this as much as I have, even professionally, in a very, very basic financial, economic, social sense. So that is what I advise other people, something that I've learned from my own life. If you are a person who are capable of making up your own mind, you will make things easier and better and more enjoyable for yourself as well as a lot of others. Think about it.